And welcome back. It's the 11th of June, Further Maths 5 a day, and let's just jump straight to the first one. Okay, f of x equals this thing here. So first thing to notice, because I know it says range, is this is a quadratic, and so therefore I need to work out where the vertex is, because the range is basically going to be all values that are above the vertex. It also says there's no domain, so domain is all values, so therefore I'm not having to worry about a top to the curve, or there was a maximum point. So in other words, where's the vertex? Now I can see, because it's factorised, that my roots are going to be -5 and -9, which means the vertex is halfway between these things, which is going to be -14/2, which is going to be -7. So in other words, I can say f of -7, the x value of my vertex, is going to be -7 plus 5, which is -2, times -7 plus 9, which is 2, which is -4. I'll basically just put them into here. Therefore, I know my vertex is equal to -7 - 4. I know my range is all values above that, so therefore f of x, my outputs, is all values including and above -4. Question done. Next question. P is the point on the curve with y equals this thing here. The tangent to the curve has gradient -1. Work out P. Okay, so typical question we've seen a few times. So dy dx is equal to 2x minus 9. It then says the tangent to the curve has gradient -1. So in other words, which x value gives me -1? Add 9 to both sides gives me 8. Divide by 2 gives me 4. So therefore x equals 4 is the value I care about. If x equals 4, then y is equal to 16, 4 squared, minus 9 times 4, which is 36. Which is going to be -20, which means my coordinate P is 4 - 20. Question done. Next question. A times B times C. In other words, I'm looking to do this. Now, there's probably, I said this properly, there is a quicker way and a slightly slower way, depending on which way you do it. So you could either do the 2 by 2 matrices first, or you do the 4 and the 2, which gives you a 2, and therefore that falls out. I'm just going to do A times B. I'm just going to do them in order. So A times B equals, well, I'm doing top row times left, so it's going to be -4 plus 12, and then top row times right, so 4 minus 6, and then bottom row times left, which is going to be 2 plus 0, bottom row times right, which is going to be -2 plus 0. And then let's tidy all this up, which is going to give me, well, -4 and 12 is 8, 2 and 0 is 2, 4 minus 6 is -2, and -2 is -2. Okay, so far. Then let's multiply that in the right order. So 8 minus 2, 2 minus 2 by C, which is -5, 7. Okay, so let's just work these ones out. So 8 times -5 is -40, -2 times 7 is -14, 2 times -5 is -10, and -2 times 7 is -14. Let's put all this as 1. So -40 minus 14 is -54. And -10 minus 14 is -24. Final answer. Question done. And final question. Prove that. Okay. So good example of, I don't really know. So I'm just going to do what I think is going to happen. So I would observe left is tan, and right is sine cos. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this into 1 over sine x over cos x. And then I'm going to add on sine x over cos x. In other words, I'll just change it all to sine and cos. Now, because I want, this is a reciprocal, that's upside down. Actually, I could have just done the tan x's first. It doesn't matter. Let's carry on. So that's cos x over sine x plus sine x over cos x. And then common denominator. So my common denominator is going to be sine x cos x. That looks good. And then I'm multiplying this one by cos x, so it's cos squared x. I'm multiplying this by sine x, so it's sine squared x. I've done it, haven't I? Cos squared x plus sine squared x is 1, so it's going to be 1 over sine x cos x. Now, if it's a proof question, I might just write on the side that sine squared plus cos squared equals 1, just so it says what I'm doing. And that's it. Question's done. Good mix of questions again today. Quite like that first one. Slightly different twist on how to do it. As ever, let me know how they went for you. Like, subscribe.